We'd like to call to order a Board of Managers meeting, JPS Hospital District, Thursday, June 9th at 1:28. First, we'll have an opening prayer by Chaplain Dan Baker.
Let us pray. Dear Lord, we thanked you for the rain, and then we prayed that it would stop for a while. And we'll thank you for the sunshine, but I'm sure it won't be long before we'll be asking for something else. So thank you for listening to us. We really do need your guidance and your help in all the decisions we make to care for the people that you've given us. Let us do it well. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen. We'll stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next on our agenda, item 4 is approval of our minutes from May 12th, 2016. I have a motion.
Move approval.
Second.
It's been moved by Steve Montgomery, second by Dr. Charles Weber, Chuck Weather. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposers? Motion passed. Next, we have is the board chair report. I just wanted to just briefly talk to you about a couple of items. One is we had really an exciting, well-informed diversity summit at the Riley Center. We learned several things. I want to say it, but
Go ahead.
Robert made a special announcement. He's a white man.
No, skinny
Oh,
white. Skinny
There we
white.
go.
So am I providing the diversity here?
Yes, you are.
But just to see what was put together and to see the diversity inclusion plan that is going before us was very informative. Learned some things. We learned how far we are and did not really realize it. I mean, how the department is making an effort to make sure it's all inclusive. And I really wanted to commend Nidia and her team for putting together well organized, had a great panel that presented to us on diversity. We had Dr. Chuck Weber and Dorothy and Charlie Powell, so some of our board members, I think that was it, that attended the session. But you would want to see the slides on the statistics that were presented to us on. What really was amazing to me was the secondary spend. I never thought about it, but not just from the diverse, but how it benefits those below it and how it extends the dollars in the diversity area. So I thought that was really a plus. Again, and you see a major movement, and actually I sat there and thought about the number of times I've sat at board meeting and asked the question, what is diversity percentages? And you can see that's a question that has gone into the sunset. So I just want to compliment Nidia and her team for that effort.
Before you go on,
Go
sir,
ahead.
if I may, as
Yeah.
part of these takeaways, people have already do from the diversity summit, was our chairman claiming an earring that was lost. So to support our chair, I have brought an earring.
I thought somebody has to support you. If you're gonna,
Say it, huh?
yeah, because I knew you wouldn't wear yours. Okay, I'm done. I know. I did. Okay.
Of course, the one I claimed was a little bit more expensive than the one he put.
I beg you.
Also, we had our Board of Managers retreat and finance budget, which was one outstanding retreat. I think all that were present really enjoyed it. I was going to ask Steve also to make some comments on it, but I just thought it was just well done by the staff and our CFO. Really were able to see the whole big picture. And then the participation of the board, well, I thought was excellent. I thought it was a good exchange. You saw the team even coming even stronger together with the same vision in place. So, Steve. Yeah.
No, it's true. I think with our new CFO, I mean, this is the first full budget cycle that she has been, in charge of. And I think we're really, it's reflecting her vision and of how to do things, and I think we're all very encouraged by it, so it's excellent.
We almost could have adopted the budget right there on the spot.
Absolutely.
Okay, Mr. Early?
A couple things, Mr. Chair, that I want to make mention. At our planning committee, Mona Gah, who deals with our quality issues, mentioned this, and I'll extend her comments one step further, and that is for catheter-associated urinary tract infections, which is your CAUTI, and your CLABSI, your central line-associated blood infections, we're at 0. And that is really powerful. And we are at zero not only for the month of April, but the month of May. So to Wanda and her team, our physicians, everybody who walks through the door at JPS can take a great deal of pride. One of our 3 basic rules at JPS is you have to own it. When we have an increase in CAUTI and CLABSI, we all own that. Now it's time to own the fact that we've had 2 solid months of 0. And that's really powerful. And that's hard with the patient base that we have and the amount of people that we have. That's a hard number to hit, 0. Really proud of the team, really proud of our physicians and our nursing team. They've done a wonderful job. The other thing is, I am sensitive to your interests, very sensitive to your interests. And I know that this location, although is a nice home for us, is not a permanent home for us. So to those who are watching us live stream now, I'll tell you that I think JPS did the right thing by live streaming. I think it's been done by the county very professional. They can hear us, they can see us, the cameras that are set up, nobody is missing from it. If you've gone back and looked at our live streaming, the archived version of it, you've seen a very helpful committee meeting and board meeting that the citizens can now see and hear and listen to. So I have no regrets in coming down here, and I want to thank the county for allowing us to be here. But there are challenges, and part of those challenges is, in the case of Dr. Johnson, in the case of some of our other practitioners, we pretty much take their entire day away from patients because it's much more difficult to come down here. Parking is a bit of a challenge. Space is a big challenge. And I'm very sensitive to the fact that many of you feel you're somewhat removed from the health network. They don't want that to be the case. So I gathered 3 wonderful people in the team, David Mendenhall, J.R. Labby, and Angie Morgan. And those are 3 can-do people. And so what we're going to do is everything we can to try really hard to have some bridge to moving our meetings back for the next meeting, and then our permanent structure will be in. We have to actually make some physical changes to the room that will take some construction time. I know Mr. Norand has suggested some other healthcare organizations and how they do their live streaming. I don't want the citizens to see anything in a change. I don't want them to see a system that is secondary to the one that we have here, and I think we can do it. The other thing about those 3 people that I talked about earlier, all of them are willing to make things happen, and I know we can make it happen budget-wise. It was not part of our budget, but we can make it work. So I just wanted to let you all know that we are sensitive to your concerns. I think we did the right thing by moving down here, but I now think it's time for our permanent home. So we will make those accommodations. And Mr. Keeley, I'm thankful that you're here on behalf of the community, representing some folks outside, because that'll be helpful too. You can go back and talk about how we want to make things change and continue on at the same time. The other thing I wanted to mention, Mr. Chair, is we had our Leadership Development Institute. What that basically is, it's not just leadership. You had a good point that maybe we just ought to call it a development institute. But what we do is we bring about 250, 225 of a lot of the leaders at JPS, but we've always had a problem in taking what's in that meeting and getting it back to the organization, our clinics, and the hospital as a whole. So what we did this time is we brought 102 folks that were invited by our leadership to come in, and they became a part of our day. It was exciting. They came in for lunch, and we said, here's basically some of the things that you need to know. And we talked about the three basic rules of existing at JPS and how that means the difference in your perception of care going from the 3rd percentile to the 93rd. And there's been a huge amount of hard work that went into that, but we can all proudly say that we've seen truly cultural change that now has traction. And now our goal, and you'll hear this a lot from me, is to take our cultural change and make it quality improvement, quality enhancement, and quality stability. So we've done a lot at JPS to make big differences. Now we need to go up to the next level and create that. So that will be a theme, and we talked about that at our Leadership Development Institute, and it was hugely helpful. We'll have some videos for y'all, but it was an exciting thing to bring folks in and chat with them and talk with them. So very pleased. I will not necessarily go out of order, but I did want to mention that, as you know, we want to take each one of our meetings and spend a little bit of special time talking about a department, an area, or something that we do at JPS that you as board members would be benefited by additional information, but more importantly, our community would understand. Wanda is going to come for you today and talk about our ICU. Our intensive care unit, bar none, one of the best. And I will tell you they're bar none one of the best, and I can tell you that because I was a patient there. I know it. And the people that are here, our nurses, our team, our staff, are merely representatives of people that are back at that ICU. I would take anybody in our ICU and stack them up against anybody, and I wouldn't stack them up against anybody in our community. I'd take on the nation. They are as good as you can get. I'm really proud of our team, and I really appreciate working with them. Gives me a great deal of honor to be able to walk down the hall and give them high fives, because I know what they deal with every day, and they're a hard-working crew. So, Mr. Chair, we can move on to the next agenda item if nobody has any questions for me, but I wanted to preface the comments that Wanda and that team are going to make. They're a wonderful team.
Yeah, come on, Wanda. While Wanda's coming, I just wanted to go back on the first item you talked on, Claudia.
Yes.
Thanks to Trent Petty, because he brought to us, introduced where we did the destination metrics and the pillars, and we, those goals were set and percentages we were going to try and reach. It was great to have done that, because it's sensational when we can put stuff on paper and say we're going to get to the top of this mountain, and then to see the proof. That's really a plus. And when you talk about the achievements, we went a whole month, and to hear about the Southeast facility going 10 out of 10, 2 months in a row. I mean, so individuals can argue about what we do, what we don't do, what we provide, what we don't provide. But there's proof we are doing something to improve patient care in this community. And I just want to compliment you and thank Trent for us having that session to even set those destination metrics and pillars.
Thank you. Yeah. Mr. Chairman, Petty, you've been huge help in that, and it's meaningful. And I think we've come a long way, and I appreciate the board's leadership in establishing those, and now it allows staff to work towards that. And I think you've got 6,000 folks that are all working in that direction now. We have a lot more of strategic initiative, and we brought on team members to help us with that, and Marianne and others are giving us that alignment that I think is hugely helpful.
Ben Wagner smiling somewhere.
Yeah.
Yes, you betcha.
And before Wanda goes, just one other comment is that, just say to board members, I know everybody's schedule is tight and busy, but one of the pluses I've really seen is when there are JPS events and you get a chance to go to those events, like we were at the research day. We got a chance to go to the diversity summit and
Excellence
the treat-
awards and all that
excellent
you've done.
awards, and to just meet employees. It is sensational to have that fellowship and just sit at a table. You don't know who you're talking to, but it just to get to know that and the employees see that the board is more concerned than just coming and meeting on a Thursday and that's it. So I just want to encourage us as we go through our terms to, as much as you can, to involve yourself with that.
Good point.
Now, Wanda.
Thank you. Thank you for having us here today. I'm excited to share with you our incredible intensive care unit team. I am so proud to present what this team does on a daily basis so you get an understanding of the amazing things that they do there every day. Before I start with some of their metrics and their clinical outcomes, I want to share with you a letter that we got from a patient to show you the empathy, the compassion, and the amazing care that they give to our patients. This letter was written to Candace, who's our manager, and it says, "Good morning, Candace. My dad was recently a patient in your ICU, and I wanted to let you know our experience. My dad was a Vietnam veteran that struggled with PTSD his entire adult life. He was a chronic alcoholic that fought the war nightly. He had become homeless after his parents passed away several years ago because he didn't want help and he didn't want treatment. When my dad entered your hospital, although he had been staying in a motel, he was very dirty from years on the streets. He smelled bad and was filthy. When I got the first call, I was called to room 306 in the ICU, and I met Sarah, a very sweet nurse who listened to me cry, thinking that this was the end, and comforted me as if she had known me for a while. Sarah explained everything that she knew and what the current plan of action was. My sister Tara arrived shortly after, and she did the same for her. Sarah checked on us frequently throughout her shift and again treated us like she knew us. She always treated my dad like he was her family member and that she genuinely cared about his well-being regardless of his physical situation. Chris and Lisa were his nurses on Friday. We watched as nurses and Dr. Duell and Dr. Troy each treated him with the utmost respect and care. The staff bathed him, shaved his face for him, kept his hair brushed, and changed his sheets and blankets frequently, so that you watched him go from looking homeless to looking like our dad again. He had Beth 2 days later. I'm sorry. He had Beth 2 days later. She was pretty amazing with him and the family. He also had a different Lisa and Millie. I apologize, I know I'm skipping around and probably rambling, but I want to make sure that you know you have an amazing staff. Every single person we came across, even your awesome staff up front, was very friendly and caring. My entire family was impressed and constantly made comments about the level of care your hospital provided my dad in his final days. Sadly, he didn't make it, but your staff was there with every step of the way with us and providing care and as well as support. They made what was a horrible situation into something that was very peaceful for a loved family member. I hope that you appreciate them as much as we do. Thank you so much. So,
Great.
and that's what they do every day for every family that's up there. And I'm just so proud. Sorry, I'm such a...
Don't apologize.
I'm supposed to be. Sorry about that. Okay. To get on with our presentation. This is our nursing leadership team for ICU. You all know me. Debbie Zaper. Debbie came to us about 2 years ago. If y'all want to come up now, just come up. Debbie came to us 2 years ago, previously from Austin. She has over 20 years of experience being a nurse, 15 years of those in management. And when we hired Debbie, Debbie was coming in to fill big shoes. She was filling Trudy Sanders' job. How do you replace Trudy Sanders? You know, and I was really worried about that. That's a hard act to follow when Trudy got promoted up. And Debbie has came in there and done an absolutely amazing job and not missed a beat, and I'm just so proud to have her on my team. Next is Candace Jamison. Candace has been at JPS for 8 years. She's been in our ICU for 5 of those years. She was recently promoted about a year or so ago to our assistant manager position, and recently, a few months ago, became our permanent manager in the ICU. She's a former Gold Stethoscope winner and is a certified critical care nurse, and has just done an amazing job and is currently in school getting her master's degree. To give you a little bit of background about our ICU, it's a 36-bed unit. We take care of surgical, medical, cardio, thoracic, neuro, and level 1 trauma patients. We have about 130 employees in the ICU, 111 of which are nurses, registered nurses. We have a quality RN, Dana Nichols, who is a new position that we implemented in the last year. And that's, these quality nurses that we've put in place in the ICU and on the PCUs are a big reason that we have 0 CAUTI, 0 CLABSI. These quality nurses are absolutely amazing. They are out there every day dogging this to make sure our patients have no adverse outcomes, and they just are diligent in doing that and working with the staff. And when Joint Commission came recently, and we've had other surveyors in for our stroke survey and our survey for our accreditation for Chest Pain Center, they recognized this as a best practice. They said, this is amazing. We've not seen this in other places, and you should be commended for the work that you're doing here and there. We also implemented a clinical mentor role, and Sarah Marshall is our clinical mentor, and that's another new role we've implemented in the last couple of years in our critical care units, PCUs and ICU. The clinical mentor serves in the role as being a resource for the staff. As we bring in new staff, they have a preceptor, but they also need someone as we implement new procedures, or just to go to if their preceptor is not readily available, so that we make sure we're giving them consistent information. And they're not just going from team member to team member asking questions, they're getting the right information and being there to help guide and direct them. And that's been a huge resource for our staff. So we also have 16 support staff, techs, unit clerks, that also help drive care on a daily basis. Couldn't do it without our physician partners, and we have 24/7 physician coverage. We have great collaboration between our nurses and our physicians in that unit. We also have dedicated respiratory therapists. We have clinical pharmacists and pharmacy techs who round out the team. The ICU is a closed environment. We don't, before just anyone can be transferred into the ICU, they have to be accepted either by one of the surgical intensivists or by one of the medical intensivists to ensure that we're admitting patients appropriately to that unit. Because we only have 36 beds, we have to be very cognizant of who's coming in there and that they really meet that level of care. If you walk through our ICU and look at the acuity of those patients, it's absolutely amazing. And this team saves people from, that normally would not be surviving. And they just do an amazing job. They have to have a lot of training to work in there, to work in the ICU. Of course, they all have basic life support. They have advanced cardiac life support. They're they go through the trauma nurse curriculum, the trauma care after resuscitation. Many of them are advanced trauma care nurses. Many of them are certified critical care nurses, and 80% of our nurses in our ICU have bachelor's degrees, which is great. They're competent in things such as post-op open heart care, hemodynamic monitoring, advanced cardiac monitoring, mechanical ventilation, intra-aortic balloon pumps, and CRRT, which is continuous renal replacement therapy. Now to get to some of their outcomes, which are absolutely amazing. This team has had 0 CLABSI for 19 months. And with those patients as sick as they are, that is absolutely amazing. They've also had, as Robert said, had 0 CAUTIs in April and May. They've not had a VAP, which is a ventilator-acquired pneumonia, in 8 months. That doesn't just happen. Those are things that are amazing outcomes considering the acuity of those patients that are in there. Another thing that we're really proud of is they've not had a fall with injury for over 5 months. And in January, that one injury that they did have was a wrist injury. These next 2 metrics, restraint documentation, which is at 96%, and pain reassessment at 96%. That's pretty amazing statistics as well. The Joint Commission was blown away. Those are two metrics that the Joint Commission really looks at when they come in here, because you have patients with restraints in the ICU because of ventilators and all that, but we will still have to meet those metrics, and there's tons of documentation and things that you have to do that, and their documentation consistently is at 96%. For pain reassessment, they want to make sure when we're giving patients pain medicine that we're going back and reassessing that pain, and that we're meeting, that they're, we met the pain level that, and they've gotten relief from that pain medicine. Another thing we're extremely proud of this team for is, this is the LEAF system for preventing pressure ulcers. We brought the LEAF system in as a trial in our ICU recently, and that's a system where you put that's a patch you put on the patient, and it has a sensor in it. And it hooks up to the computer, and it will tell you if you're turning your patient appropriately to prevent pressure ulcers. And when we first brought it in, you know, we all questioned, well, we're turning our patients, you know, we don't, and it's kind of to tell us if we're turning, and they were consistently turning. And, however, what this system told us, we may be turning, but maybe we're not turning at the right percentage. Maybe you need to turn, you know, a little bit more to get that pressure off, and that's what it told us. The thing that the company could not believe was that the consistency in which we turned and the diligence of this staff in their turning and how they used the system to make sure that they were turning effectively. Our scores were above 90%. They said they had never seen that anywhere in the country, and they'd been to Stanford, they'd been to Cleveland Clinic. They just couldn't believe our numbers, that we just blew it out of the water, and that's because of the dedication of that staff and the diligence they have for caring for those patients. We currently rank 4th nationally for the amount of organ donations that we do, and
Right.
that is pretty incredible as well, because, you know, it takes these nurses working with those families in order to do that. People don't just offer up their organs, but they know how to talk to these patients to help them realize the lives that they can save and the people that they can impact by donating their organs. And then they have increased their patient satisfaction scores, and in May, their HCAP scores were at 90.6. So, they should, that's some pretty key accomplishments for that team. Some things that we've done in the last year or so, like I mentioned, we added the assistant manager position, and that's key for many reasons. I have high expectations for my managers, that when you have 110 staff and you have 36 patients, I expect them to round every day on the patients. I expect them to round on the staff. I expect them to round with the physicians and interact with them and the families. So that's a lot for one person to do. So we added the assistant manager job so that we could have, share some of that wealth. We also have a lot of the assistant managers work into the evening and night shifts, so that that night shift has that support as well. So that was a huge win for us, and it's been great for the staff. Candace filled that role for a while, and when we lost our ICU manager, she was able to slip right into that. So it's also succession planning, and we didn't miss a beat because she just stepped right in. She knew exactly what to do, and that was a huge win for us. So we're currently looking for someone to backfill her position, but very proud of that. I mentioned earlier about the quality nurse and the clinical mentor. Candace has also worked extremely hard to fill vacancies and has done an amazing job. We currently only have 2 vacancies in the ICU. That's almost unheard of. So very proud of that. Another thing we've done is we've implemented a unit-based council. And we know that if you involve the staff in the decision-making, they know what's going on in the unit. They know how to drive care. If you let them help make the decisions and drive the decisions on the unit, it's a staff satisfier, and we're gonna get much better outcomes rather than us sitting in our offices trying to drive and direct care. And the more people we can involve at from the bedside, the much better outcomes we're gonna have for that. We've increased the number of nurses that have gone back and gotten their certifications. We're up to 30. Like I said, we have 80% of our RNs now have a bachelor's degree, and we're continuing to work on that, and many of them are in school. They have the highest participation in our nursing professional practice model, and that is a program that we implemented a couple of years ago where nurses can get involved and do all kind of different quality programs and additional education and all these things to help drive quality and care and engagement in the hospital, and that unit has the highest. They've created a patient satisfaction committee, so they are working diligently, and it's paying off, and you can see by their scores. And another big change for that unit that was a culture shift for us was having open visiting hours. Before, we used to have set visiting hours, and sometimes that didn't work well for families. So if they worked all day, and we said, no, you can only visit your loved one for 2 hours in the evening, that didn't work well from them. So we started shifting. We opened it up a little bit, and then we opened it up a little more, and now we've gone to pretty much open visiting hours, and that's been a huge patient and staff's family satisfier. And it involves, that way we're involving families in the care and getting their input and having transparency so they can see what's going on with their loved one, and that be more available to talk to doctors, and because doctors may not come during visiting hours. So it really has made a world of difference for us. Some things that we're gonna continue to try to work on is decreasing our pressure ulcers. I mentioned earlier about the leaf system and how that's decreased our pressure ulcers, and it has. However, we've had some pressure ulcers lately, but they're not from turning. It's not the kind of pressure ulcers that you would normally see. For some reason, we have had a recent spike in device-related pressure ulcers. So like if a patient has an NG tube, or a heel boot, or a halo, one of those things where they put them, those are the kind of things that we're seeing now all of a sudden. So, and that's new for us. So we're really trying to go back and figure out why those things are happening and prevent those things. So they really are diligent in that. Continue to work on making sure we have zero coding. Really working on decreasing our overtime hours. We're doing that by making sure we're getting those positions filled. Sometimes we still have challenges when people are on vacation or out on FMLA, but really working on bringing in PRN nurses, and we implemented last winter what we called our winter plans, which was a enhanced PRN rate to try to get more PRN nurses in, so that we weren't having to pay overtime, and doing the same thing for the summer to help us cover vacations. And then really working on decreasing our operating expenses, and they've done a great job with that. We've implemented what we call a PAREX system in our supply rooms, which makes sure we're capturing charges and scanning for those. And this month, all of our critical care units this past month was below 100% of their budget, which is our goal, is to be below 100%, and the ICU is at 101. So that's amazing. They've really worked diligently on getting their finances in step, as well as their clinical care. Next steps, things we're working on is the unit-based council really working on things to create employee retention so that we don't lose staff. Our ICU equipment techs really working on, and with the VAT team, on looking at cost-benefit analysis to help us look at cost savings on some of our supplies. I mentioned the PAREX systems. We're gonna work with Kathleen, try to talk to her about getting us some dedicated physical therapists in the ICU, because every one of those patients need physical therapy. And then really working on a protocol to prevent pressure ulcers, especially in our paralyzed patients. That's a very challenging population to deal with when it comes to pressure ulcers and such. Any questions for me, Debbie, Candace, and then I'm gonna ask a couple of our team members to speak to you a little bit.
Anyone? Questions?
I have no questions. I just wanted to say, Wanda, that was an awesome report. You and your team are doing an exceptional job. I know how hard it was to get those open hours. Believe me, I know that was a fight. So congratulations.
Yeah, that was a war.
Well, I just want to say, this presentation also goes back to Nikki's presentation, and you have it up there, that first bullet of retaining employees. And that as a board member, that's something I think we as a board needs to look at as we look at budget, of seeing some kind of way to stay competitive in the market, so we stay at the levels that we are. Also, I would say, and this is to Robert and to you, Wanda, being able to recruit and get good staff, and is a great performing staff, always points to the leadership.
Thank you. I'll point to that leadership. They do an amazing job, but thank you, sir. Any any other questions before I turn it over to them? Okay.
Let me just a quick comment. I've, from the medical staff side and physician side, I've had the opportunity to work with every single one of these folks up here and many more. And Wanda can tell you, I have a quarterly meeting with Wanda on how are things going, and the first thing I always say is that your ICU staff is unbelievable, and they really are. The other thing to point out, for those of you who aren't familiar with what they do, our unit at JPS is an extremely busy and extremely high acuity unit, comparatively. There's no, people always think they have the most busy, the most high acuity. It's a fact, we do. If you can walk by, I always think every time I walk in the unit, which is multiple times a day, if I see a patient that's not on a ventilator, I'm very surprised, right? I mean, it's a very high acuity unit. And so for employee retention, it really is amazing to me all the time that these folks stay on and operate at the level that they operate with. I mean, there are no down days or half days or light days. It's like they play the Super Bowl every day in there. It really is. And so thank you from the medical staff, personally, and Doc, I've worked with you so many times. The level of collaboration there is the other thing that's so nice for physicians. So thank you.
Another challenge that this team has is because we only have 36 ICU beds, it's constantly a juggle to figure out, okay, who's the sickest and who can move out, because we have the next trauma coming in, or we have the next big surgery coming in, and so they're constantly trying to juggle that priority. And then when you look at our PCUs, many of the patients on our PCU would be in an ICU at another facility. So kudos to them. I have with us today Dr. Gerard. Dr. Gerard is one of our attendings in pulmonary and critical care medicine. And I just asked her to speak a little bit about, from the perspective of the medical staff who work with this staff every day, and the physician-nurse collaboration that we have in there. So, Dr. Gerard.
Thank you for having me.
Why don't you, do we have a mic up there at the podium? Either that mic or this mic. There you go. Thank you.
Okay, can everybody hear me? Yes. All right, yes, I'm Salam Jara. I'm one of the pulmonary and critical care attendings at JPS. Thank you for inviting us and for having us today. I have the great privilege to work with these fine individuals here. So, as Dr. Johnson was suggesting, we have a very, very busy intensive care unit. It's a 36-bed intensive care unit, and we share the space between the medical intensive care side and the surgical intensive care unit, and that also includes the cardiothoracic surgery patients as well. We have very long days, very busy days. What stands out to me in terms of being a staff physician in the ICU is the standard of excellence that we have in our unit. And that is self-driven standards of excellence from each individual who works in our ICU, from our techs to our respiratory therapists to our nurses. The intensive care unit is truly a team experience. I tell my residents all the time there's no I in ICU, because anyone who decides to take all of this on upon themselves is basically subjecting the patients to failure. And one of the greatest experiences that I have every single day when I walk into the ICU is I get to work as part of this team. We have a very, very collaborative experience, and I think that is what stands out. I think there's a great deal of support between the nursing staff and physicians. We support each other, and we help each other to take care of each other so that we can take care of our patients. And that's unique, and that's, I think, what makes our unit very, very special. I know that every single nurse that works in the ICU has my back, and from the physician side, we have their back. And we do this all every day because we want to do our best to take care of our patients. It's a great responsibility that we have when these patients come to us. It's a responsibility to the patients, but also to their families. And as from the physician side, I think our job is difficult because we are somewhat responsible in terms of overseeing care of many patients. But we have the advantage that we can walk into a room and walk out. Our nurses are at the bedside 24 hours a day, every minute, doing what I think is the hardest job. And it is because of them that we are able to do what we do. Our nurses are the heartbeat of our ICU. We could not function without them. And it is, from my standpoint and from many of my physician colleagues, it's an honor and a privilege to be a part of this team. So.
Thank you. Okay, next we have, we invited two of our nurses with us today. We have one who's been with us for 17 years and one that's only been here about a year. And we wanted to hear the perspective of a seasoned veteran here that's been with us. Bob Ashton has been a nurse for 17 years. He's been at JPS for 11 of those years. And he is a previous winner of the JPS Excellence Award. He's also a Gold Stethoscope winner. And he's one of our most respected staff members. Bob, would you like to say something? Sure.
Hi, my name is Bob. I came to JPS, as she said, 11 years ago. It was like the clouds opened up. This place is wonderful. I'm excited every day to come to work. I love the team that I work with, the physicians. I wouldn't change it for the world. This is the nurse that I'm supposed to be. I've worked at other facilities, and there's no comparison. What we do for this community is way above what the expectations are out there. I am so proud to be a member of this team and thankful that I am where I am today. So, and I'm also very humbled that I was here today. And I just wish that I'm going to take this back and tell all my team members how complimentary everybody was. And I greatly appreciate it so much.
I like how they wore their dress scrubs today. Next, we have with us David Herndon. He joined us about a year ago and completed our nurse residency program that we've implemented. He's currently studying for a CCRM, and he has brought a whole new energy to our ICU. He's just a great addition to our team. And so from a new nurse perspective, why don't you tell us a little bit about what you've experienced?
So I'm David. I've been a nurse about a year and a half now. New grad, started at JPS through the residency program. I ended up at JPS. I was a student here through my critical care rotation and just fell in love with it. The acuity, the layout, the equipment, the people, I mean, everything was just perfect. And started here. Bob was actually my preceptor, so it was amazing getting trained by a seasoned nurse that's very familiar with our patient population and how to take care of them. And I'm ecstatic to be a part of the team. I love it. I also work 7 p.m. to 7 a.m., so we got a great team on nights. I know you guys don't get to see it a lot, but they're amazing. But thank you for the opportunity to come and speak with you briefly today.
We sent a spy in to see how you were doing, 7 a.m. to 7 a.m.
You guys are welcome anytime.
Not that way.
And then Candace or Debbie, do you have anything you want to say? Or you don't have to, but if you would like to say something.
I just feel very honored.
Grab that mic so we can hear you because you're going to have community-wide too.
Yeah, I've only been here 2 years, but I truly do feel very honored, and I feel, so supported by Wanda and our leadership here. I feel that we can do anything with that kind of support. And I love, all of my critical care, but of course I have a special place for ICU. And Candace is doing a spectacular job. I mean, she, is new to the job, but she has flourished. I mean, we have a great team.
Thank you.
I agree.
Does anyone have any questions for any of us or any of them, or?
Now, what can you say?
I think that deserves applause.
I'm like a proud mama. Thank you for giving us the opportunity to present to you today. And we're going to leave now because they have to go save lives. Thank you.
Thank you, Wanda.
Thank you.
Dr. Johnson, you're up.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. The medical executive committee met 2 days ago on Tuesday.
Mr. Petty, if you'll move that mic over, or take the one that Wanda had, it would be great. Thank you.
The most substantive thing I'd like to mention from discussion from the meeting is an update on closing out open encounters. It's one of the things we've talked about before. We had set them at we landed on 14 days inpatient, 14 days outpatient. You know, we at the medical, to show the commitment of the medical staff to this, we were able at the Med Executive Committee to put some teeth in that, and we've already started. So what we decided upon and have already started implementing is encounters that were greater than 90 days and that far out were administratively closed. Anything between 14 and 90 days, myself, Dr. Nia Karras, the chair of the Medical Records Committee, and any individual who has charts between 14 and 90 days and their chairman are having individual meetings to explain why it's that way, are there any opportunities for improvement, and stressing upon to them that all of those encounters need to be closed by July 1st, and we're going to be doing this going forward from here on out. And if those encounters are not closed, they will be put on administrative. Administratively, we will suspend them from the medical staff. And what an administrative suspension means is they can still practice on patients they have in the hospital. They can practice in the clinic, but they can't admit any new patients, and they can't perform any operations. If that persists for a month and they still haven't fixed them, then we're going to disengage their access to the electronic medical record. On behalf of the medical staff, we're going to request their EMR access be requested, and then their employer, whoever that may be, can decide how useful they are to the organization.
It has been, well, but the challenge is, and to credit Dr. Johnson and the team of physicians, it certainly may sound that way, but the goal is to create compliance when you're asking everybody else in the organization to comply with the rules and the regulations, and no one should be exempt from that. The other thing to applaud Dr. Johnson and the team is that was really tough to do, because it is a group of individuals that are all part of that same homogeneity, the same schooling, same process, same thought. It's hard to discipline somebody. You see this in other institutions where it's really hard to discipline your own, and I want to applaud him. Dr. Johnson, if you would you relate to the board just what your email notice did at the beginning from a compliance, just allowing them to understand you were going to change the process, what happened?
So I think what he's alluded to, the email, just allowing them to understand the process was going to change, and scheduling those meetings. We would have been on about our 8th meeting. Most of those folks completed all their records before the meeting was scheduled to be done, and were able to cancel the meetings. The remaining half showed up to the meeting, and we fully expected we were going to hear about how the EMR was the problem, and the workflow, and the nurses were the problem, the techs were the problem. But 100% of those that did showed up with a performance improvement plan for themselves, so that we didn't have to give them one.
Yep.
So we think this is going to be a good process, and I have to give a lot of credit to Madura and Dr. Nia Karras and the chairs for participating. They're showing up for these meetings. So anyway, it's and again, as Mr. Rose said, we just want to align and hold ourselves to the same level of responsibility as everyone else is. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
What I'd like to say, though, that's physicians changing their behavior,
Yeah.
which is very, very tough to get done.
But I think that the message of changing attitudes has permeated throughout the system.
I agree with you.
And I think it's becoming contagious all over, which I think is a plus for JPS.
Well, and I will say to Dr. Weber's point, nothing communicates to physicians better than physicians. As a CEO and as a board member, you can say it until you're blue in the face. But there is nothing like the dialogue from physician to physician. It makes all the difference. And the leadership that Dr. Johnson, Dr. Nia Karras, and even in Madura's case and Dr. Rosinio have done have made huge differences. Can't thank you enough.
I used to always hear Dorothy say, physicians are different.
Yes, we are.
In a good way.
Proud of it.
Some kind of
Okay, on committee reports, we have two committees this month, Finance Committee, and then following Finance Committee, then Planning.
Yes, sir. We had a Finance Committee meeting on May 26th. The items under item 11, the consent items are what we covered. Apparently, the Finance Committee is the only productive committee, because all of those are from Finance. What about you guys?
The gauntlet's down.
Anyway,
Do you want me to cut his mic off now?
so the Finance Working Committee is pleased to present these. If any have any questions, I'll be glad to defer them to Scott or somebody else. But we did have, one of the things that Boss Clark laid out for us is probably a better structure in terms of the budget process than any of us who have gone through this numerous times have had before. And I'm really pleased that even I understand it, which is a monumental task. I mean, it's orderly, it's structured, we'll be informed all along the way, so there's no surprises come August that, oh, I didn't know that was gonna be there. So I'm very pleased with that, and that concludes my report.
Thank you. Trent?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Planning over our last couple of meetings has been focusing on your direction, Mr. Chair, to really focus in on the destination metrics. And we concluded today, as a matter of fact, those reports on destination metrics. And I think when the board receives them, it's going to be very happy. There's been a lot of progress made on this. The staff has worked untold hours putting these together, and I think it's going to reflect a very good barometer for us as board members to see how we're progressing along those lines. I appreciate your leadership and allowing us to observe these and have a part in it. And we're looking forward to the next meeting. We can present them and be ready to go.
It is my hope that some way, I don't know what that is that we can start doing some kind of snapshots of, if it's nothing but a newsletter that's in the clinics, so individuals, or if they're in the waiting rooms, they can pick up something to see our accomplishments, you know. So however we pull that off, it'd be good to see that. And especially for those who have questions of how good we're doing as we go into the bond process.
Agreed. Thank you.
Okay, we have no other matters for our board action. Next is our consent agenda. Intend a motion approval.
Recommend approval.
Second.
Mr. Chairman, there's one edit on item C. There's a typo on page 2 under the term, paragraph 3. It currently reads from July 1, 2016, and it ought to read from June 1, 2016. We'll make a correction on that. Okay.
All right. It's been moved by Dr. Weber and second by Steve Montgomery. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passed. Okay. That's it for our agenda. Let me say this, we're going to reconvene into closed session. If we can just go to closed session for a moment, then we can be through for the day. Okay? And then we'll get Charlie to his next appointment.
Mr. Chair, if I could make one comment, if you don't mind, before. I want to thank Angela and Elva, you know, with Suzanne's decision to join her husband in Miami and live a life of a married woman. It certainly has allowed us to make some temporary changes in interim, and I want to thank Elva and I want to thank Angela for all their hard work and making sure that we had the rooms ready and getting everything down here, and we become almost a nomadic tribe when we take everything down and bring it here and set up and then break it down and take it back. But I want to thank the two wonderful ladies behind us because they've done an excellent job, and I'm thankful for y'all's hard work. Thank you.
I don't know who picked the menu, but they did a fantastic job.
These two ladies right here. So, thank you.
Okay, we'll go into closed session. And the only thing we have for closed session is actually what it has taking place today is that the planning committee and Trent Petty took up our time, so we're trying to give it back.
We did finish.
Okay, we'll convene back into open session, and I'll entertain a motion.
I make a motion to
Hospital
approve the
privileges.
medical and advanced practice professional staff appointments and reappointments.
You approve. Repeat that again, I need to correct
The
something.
medical and advanced practice professional staff appointments and reappointments.
Hospital privileges.
Hospital privileges.
All right.
Doesn't say that.
All in favor? Aye. All right. I don't think I got a second, though, did I?
You did.
Yeah, Charlie.
Oh, Charlie, okay, all right, okay. There be no further business, I entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All right, we adjourn.
All right, Charlie can make.
Mr. Chairman, the only one that the planning was lengthy, we just had